Hi, good morning. I'm going to introduce my newest manuscript called The Lonely Island Before Rhode Island. And it was just reviewed by Tate Publishing, and there was some interest in this. So I'm hoping this manuscript will eventually be put into a book and be out sometime this year. It's called The Lonely Island Before Rhode Island. And it has two main characters, Lavelle and Trenton. It takes place before the onset of the colonization of our New England, and actually takes place before we had a state called Rhode Island. There's two characters, Lavelle and Trenton. Trenton is of Chinese Asian background. He really has a look to him more of Russian, and Lavelle is of a Dutch background. The Lonely Island Before Rhode Island is the anchoring of Rhode Island and what it manifested in the interaction between the expanding of these two characters, Lavelle and Trenton's mind, that parallel the permanent hold of Rhode Island as part of New England eventually. This is how the story ends, with a conversation between these two characters' individual minds realizing their possibilities as well as their land. This writing was prompted by a friend of mine here in San Diego who felt maybe I should try something a little bit different, and she suggested that I write about Rhode Island, uh, the history of it, and to bring in some romance and decadence of the period, a few other details and prompts. So for that, I'm going to dedicate this story to Zana, and I wanted to thank her. We actually do discuss my books, and she's helped me. She's a very creative, artistic person. A story about Rhode Island brings in all these things of this early period from our European country. And I feel often that I'm more of a reporter who receives channeled inspiration from another time, whatever spirit-driven term that you would like to use. It is important to mention, though, that I have a consistency in metaphysical rhythm style that always comes through all of my writings. It serves a dual purpose when written, and I would like to liken this story to more of a Salvador Dali likeness of artistic style of subliminal dissemination that parallels with this realistic time period, and goes and takes our minds to prophecies and things of our past. The summary hopefully will entice you as the viewer to maybe be interested in purchasing this once it is a book and is out and published. And the two main characters, again, Lavelle of a Dutch descent and Trenton being of the Chinese background, takes the reader to real world wealthy Ivy League ships, captains, and all that they could presume, winding the globe, groomed, married, widowed, and evolving on the early island before it was colonized. And of course, we know Rhode Island is not actually an island, but it was kind of isolated in its location from the rest of New England. And this introduction of Ivy League schools, such as Harvard, brings in early alumnus, such as George Ripley, who was an actual alumnus of Harvard Divinity School. He was a scholar with all the old world knowledge and decadence that helped create this new world. He played extravagantly, as did the rest of the alumnus, and created a higher class in its decadence and charm. The descendants to the New World, Gothic to eventual Victorian style, were really an encapsulated entering of places such as Versailles, where these men of money walked, could swim in style that cushioned their travels of similarity to that of their European homes. So this was like a stomping ground, a place where they could dock their ships and play, and started actually breaking ground in some of our early Ivy League schools that we find here now in our country. The use of techniques in nature to quantum physics is what I use to take the reader through spheres of an earlier time to travel with these men of these old world ships. This begins to set the stage for an earlier settlers of their eventual New England. Here we start to remember men like Columbus of the Mayflower's captain to the Mayflower's captain to earlier voyagers of Viking ships, France, and of Dutch descent, as well as Spain. These ships were carved with their carved busts of their maidens were indeed our earliest visitors to meet the indigenous of America. Here Lavelle is introducing one of these earliest spouses of Dutch descent, a captain's spouse. Madonna's quoted from one of her song's lyrics as metaphysically connecting the earlier time to experiences that may be played out in the same ways of today. Talks of the world of party and song with all of its decadence and artistry. This mentioning is extended to later singers such as Billie Holiday and even Elvis, in again connecting the same extreme indulgence that comes with the territory of our wealthiest of men. Now, when these ships arrived in the port, they filled this lonely island with the most decadent of port, fancy wines, caviar, and most special of any kind. With this, they stayed connecting to the Ivy League men and celebrating their fill. Again, metaphysically speaking, karmic resolve is realized by Lavelle when speaking with her friend from France that was able to help her connect to the previous life's disruptive messes so that she could steer clear this incarnation in resolving that which was allowed and allow her to connect to her heart. Lavelle and John continue their causes to find out where and why there may be a split in their thought. And with this, their conversations, they're able to work through revelations of their past and the players that may have caused them discomfort. Now a resolve of her mind has come upon her as she is able to move forward in this incarnation. Finally, one's mind is likened to that of an oak tree, where the clearing of karmic debris allows the branching of the brain to reach and create a canopy for all of one's hopes. Lavelle's gift of prophecy and knowing the earth's past, she foretells of wars and men to come that would be a part of building this new world. This was a woman who was key in connecting Europe to the Indians and their families. In this story, Lavelle lays the foundation of connecting America's past to the evolving new world. The Lonely Island was really Lavelle's place of purpose to tame and put each one of their own in their own place. From the animals to the girls that she did guide, she was able to allow each individual their own relevance in time. Everything that Lavelle was about had to come from inside once she had no one in this place that left to create from that which she had inside. Witch hunt time of Salem was projected. Lavelle started to realize the projection of Salem witch hunt days and the drama that would ensue. This was a bit disconcerting, to say the least. Lavelle's realization speaks of closing one's life's incarnations and the reason of metaphysically figuring oneself out until the soul and matter have combined to compile our many lives so that the soul can move to other places within the universe. And then we go into a part 2, and here she brings in this character, Trenton, and he's very wealthy. He showers her with all types of gifts as well as completeness of her heart. So this was really the East meeting the West, and they have, he brings her specific exotic foods. They share exotic animals that he brings over in the ship's hall, plants. And him and Lavelle were an unlikely pair, but indeed twin flames of an earlier committed, heartfelt place. As their minds connect, they complete the world's history and that of their own, and finally knowing what it is that they would soon learn. These two could transcend time with a special mantra, really the combination of their heavenly names. For when these names were spoken together and repeated in 3, they were able to rip all veils of time and see what special design was to be for Earth and her families. This Chinaman's birth name in this life was a strange one indeed. Trenton was he. The lines of his face did not reflect that of Chinese, but instead were more like a Russian. Trenton, where he could really expand all that connected culture to the sea, these special foods were like that of gods that they did share, for so as the pleasures of dining together would bring back the heavenly existence that was to be completed in their special committed time of their lives. The story finally ends with a full circle in Lavelle's mind to understand the completion of her purpose during Earth's time. She explains that her sharing of this writing in that it is some sort of a key that hopefully will unlock those needing to know from a heavenly mind's eye. The anchoring of Rhode Island occurs when the interaction of the expanding of Lavelle and Trenton's mind parallel the permanent hold and parallel and make a permanent hold of Rhode Island as part of New England, and is how the story ends with the dialogue between these characters' individual mind realizations of their possibilities as well as their land. And they connect with the Mother Earth, and they connect with their own core self, and it anchors this spot and really takes hold for the eventual um, Lonely Island to become what we now know as Rhode Island. And I hope that this will make it out this year, and it was a lot of fun writing this. Thank you.